Today we talk about protein powder, how it's made, what macros to look out for, and which one is the best for baking. The process of making protein powder begins with regular cow's milk during the cheese making process. The cheese makers heat the milk to about 90 degrees Celsius or 194 F and then add an acid to the milk called rennet. Then they remove the milk from the heat and let it sit there for about half an hour, and now look what happens. After 30 minutes, the acid has completely separated the cheese curds from the yellow liquid substance. These substances are then filtered and separated to obtain the two main milk proteins, liquid whey and casein. Liquid whey is the protein that most people are familiar with. It is what is turned into a powder and sold as whey protein powder. The liquid whey is dehydrated and then flavored with vanilla or other sweeteners like sucralose before getting sold. Casein is the other main protein in milk. It is the base for most dairy products, including cheese, yogurt and cottage cheese. However, casein can also be turned into a protein powder, but it is not as common as whey protein powder, which makes sense. There is not a lot of usage for liquid whey, where casein is literally the base for every dairy product. Despite coming from the same source, whey protein powder and casein protein powder have very different properties. Here I have 15 grams of whey protein powder mixed up with 50 grams of water, and as I mix this you will see that no matter how long I keep stirring, the powder will never get even a little bit thicker. And that makes sense. Remember, whey is a liquid in its core. However, that makes it also so popular as a shake. It's super easy to drink. Now look at the casein. I will again mix 15 grams of casein with 50 grams of water and mix, and after mixing for about half a minute, this will turn into a super thick consistency, almost like a yogurt. Casein binds a lot of water, which also makes sense because casein is literally cheese curd. So, and these properties now help us decide which one to use for what. And also, some of you may have heard that protein powder is destroyed or denatured when heated. This is not true, as the process of making protein powder already involves heating milk, so you don't need to worry about it. So in general, the easiest ingredient to swap out if you want to make a change is dairy. As you just learned, it is basically the same thing, so if a recipe calls for milk or Greek yogurt or cream cheese, you can absolutely just add protein powder, no problem. As long as you want your food to remain liquid, for example you need a protein shake or you want to add it to your oatmeal but like it rather soupy than thick, then you should go ahead and add whey protein powder and not casein. If you want to bake something, however, that is another story. Because baked protein foods generally use less fat to save on calories, you cannot simply add whey protein to a cake, for example. Remember, whey doesn't hold water, so as soon this gets heated in the oven, the liquid will completely evaporate, which is the reason baked protein foods are often so dry. This is where I highly recommend using casein as an ingredient when baking and not whey. It will do a much better job of keeping the cake moist because it can hold so much water. However, I personally use a 50-50 casein whey blend most of the time because casein holds so much water. It doesn't rise properly and can become super dense. If you don't mind that, hey, that's perfect, but if you want a more cakey consistency, a 50-50 blend is in my experience the best way to bake with protein powder. Just keep in mind that you cannot simply swap out all of the flour for protein powder. These are two completely different things. In my experience, 30% should be the maximum amount to swap out, so if a recipe calls for 90 grams of flour, add 60 grams instead and use 30 grams of protein powder for the best results. In terms of flavor, I would recommend using vanilla-based protein powder and not a chocolate or strawberry flavored. It is a lot easier to add cocoa powder, for example, so you have a chocolate tasting protein instead of buying a chocolate protein and now you have a chocolate flavor every time you make something, where vanilla is much more versatile and can be transformed in a ton of different flavors. Now, what is a good calorie range to look out for? So a lot of protein powder manufacturers fill their containers up with a ton of sugar so it tastes better. So if you buy yourself a protein powder, please watch out for these macros. 100 grams of powder should have at least 75 grams of protein, which will result in a 24 grams of protein per 120 calorie scoop. And that counts for both whey or casein, it doesn't matter. This one, for example, has over 80 grams of protein per 100 grams of powder. So as you can see, protein powder is essentially milk and real food, and not some weird lab food that a lot of people want you to believe. I made a cookbook that helped me go from this to this without even thinking about being on a diet. 190 low-calorie, high-protein recipes from breakfast, lunch or dessert, and even nutritional tables or protein sources. Everything you need is in here. And the best part is that I will constantly be updating the book with new recipes, and you will get every recipe update for free once you've purchased it. Join the thousands of people that already bought the book. The link is in the description.